several months later, and he's still crossing my mind all the time. Rain and shine, image of you so divine. I ain't lying, if I didn't want you, I would have been outro, without a doubt though. That's why I stick around like Velcro, and if hell froze, over and over, that's when I'm over you. I know this truth, it's getting kinda lonely in this boat for two. We're overdue for some hugging and touching and loving, girl. When I'm in your presence, feeling like I'm in another world. On a bed of pearls, got your fingers in my curls. Fuck.
Hello.
What's up?
What's up?
How's everyone?
Hope everybody's having
everybody.
a great time here in quarantine, here in McDonald's land. Thank you all for being here. We got a great show. Also, before we get started, that intro, of course, the boy Omega Nova. October 30th, new project coming out, all streaming platforms. Make sure you go check it out. It's going to be fire. He just posted up a new music video on his YouTube, ZFX Records. Go check that shit out. It's fire.
Fire also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Check it out.
We hope everybody is having a good one. Sorry about missing last week.
It's my fault. It's all my fault.
Yeah, you went to Croatia.
Care to explain, Carlos? Yeah.
The one
How
where
did you
flight.
drain our bank accounts?
I still haven't heard
well, I
about
It's
it.
okay
bankrupted the
though.
show.
We're here for the mega show. Yeah.
And so, in the fallout of the bankruptcy, me and Michael got together and we created all that new background and stuff. So the stream looks better than ever, even though we've gone
Yeah.
bankrupt.
It looks really fresh.
Hope you guys like
Carlos
it.
and I got together, and we just hope you guys really do enjoy the new look of it. So
We're always,
It's all right,
we're always out
Carlos.
here trying to upgrade.
You know what they say, Carlos? Life is a bitch, and then you die.
That's why we get high.
That's why we get high.
You
Yeah.
never know.
When
All
you're
right.
gonna go.
Where we're gonna go. Yep. And so we have just a couple prescient, pretty important things we want to get to first, and then we're gonna get to our very special interview with Boyy. We have him waiting. We won't leave him waiting for long. So let's get through this shit. To kick it off, let's talk about, this is a little bit old, but just recently the Bolivian elections were ones that were canceled because there was, quote, fraud, as both our government and the Organization of American States, otherwise known as CIA front,
Gotta
tried to
love the
claim
way
that
it
it was an
baby.
illegitimate election. Yeah, so they reheld the election, and MAS, Movimento al Socialismo, their socialist party, fucking did even better. They destroyed both the centrist party and the far right party.
Yes.
So
Yeah, super huge shout out
Yeah.
to the MAS. Solidarity with all the indigenous people of Bolivia. We're happy for you, and we hope moving forward, you can continue to fight off U.S. imperialism, and
Yes.
you can excel as a nation. Nothing but the best for the
Yeah.
people of Bolivia.
of course,
And let's not forget too, this election was only possible through the mass disobedience and protests of, as you mentioned, the indigenous people,
Putting their lives on the line.
union workers of the country. Yeah, absolutely. Dozens of protesters have been killed, if not more than that. We don't exactly know.
Yeah, and you've already seen false comparisons drawn between this and then the Biden election.
Right.
By your normal liberals, but
Saying this is how you vote out fascism.
yeah.
Without regarding all the steps they took to get to this point.
mass protesting during a pandemic, putting your lives on line, being willing to blow up bridges and whatnot. They did everything they could to fight this off, and you can't downplay that at all, or you're not. I don't really take you that serious.
Yeah, and another good news on that front too, I believe on the 9th of November, Evo Morales, the president that was couped and ousted, is in Argentina, should be allowed back into the country. So that is also very good news. But in sad news relating to this, we just learned of this morning. The head of one of the leaders, the main leader of the miners' union in Bolivia, was attacked by basically fascist thugs. And today he died from the injuries he sustained. Here we just have the headline from the tweet. We'll get into the article that we have translated. Shocking, awful news. Bolivia Mining Union FSTMB leader Orlando Gutiérrez just died after he was viciously beaten by a fascist anti-MAS gang in the wake of the elections. Go ahead and get into the pieces here. Yeah, so this is from that article, page 7 digital. The executive secretary of the Union Federation of Mining Workers, FSTMB, of Bolivia, Orlando Gutiérrez, died this Wednesday after having been hospitalized for several days in a clinic in the city of La Paz. Leaders of the sector denounced a few days ago that Gutiérrez had been the victim of an attack allegedly perpetrated by a group of people protesting the results of the election, which gave Luis Arce the winner. Medical personnel consulted by Pagina 7 Digital briefly confirmed Gutierrez's death without specifying further information, while mining leaders contacted by this medium did not want to confirm the news. In this regard, the president-elect Luis Arce used his Twitter account to express his condolences for the death of the mining leader. He says here, quote, "I express my deep regret for the physical departure of brother Carlos Orlando Gutierrez Luna, rest in peace. Power. Great mining leader who always defended the interests of the Bolivian people. My solidarity with the family in this difficult time. We accompany them in their pain," Arce published. Meanwhile, Radio Kawasachin, they do great work also too. They post translated articles on Twitter, so check them out. They also confirmed the death of the mining leader through their social networks, and former President Evo Morales added to the signs of distress. This is from Evo, quote, "It is with deep pain that I have learned about the death of Comrade Orlando Gutierrez, a young, brave, and committed mining leader of the historic FSTMB, and a militant of the process of change. My condolences and solidarity with his family," unquote. We move to the next. Gutierrez is known to have suffered several head injuries that complicated his health. What they mean by that is he was beaten to death by fascist thugs in the country, now that they've gained power, seeing that he was, an instrumental part in doing this.
Yeah.
Here from the article about the mining leader. Gutierrez was born in the Colquiri mining center, being the last of 5 brothers, all dedicated to mining. At the age of 11, he worked in the mine until he became a master driller. At 18, he joined the Sinchi Wayura Company. He graduated as a bachelor from the Aniceto Arce Educational Unit. His union life began as Secretary of Sports, and since then he has held various positions in the FSTMB. In an interview with the now defunct state newspaper, Cambio, he pointed out that the legacy his mother left him was work, honesty, and study. Since his election as Executive Secretary of the FSTMB in 2015, he has considered unifying the mining sector as one of his achievements. Identified with Pula Cayo's thesis, Gutierrez said in 2018 to the Supplement La Coordinadora that he is a, quote, "a militant of the working class because I am a miner proud of my roots. I will continue to fight for the rights and interests of my class. Those are my political ideological principles." So very disheartening to see, very sad to see such a powerful figure die. But as we know, and as he said in this statement too, his work lives on too. He was a powerful voice in organizing these working class miners and indigenous miners in Bolivia. And, they have power again in the country because of people like him. So he rests in power, and may his memory be continued on through the MAS movement.
The impact that he had was very great.
And
absolutely.
Let's only move forward. Killing one rose won't stop the coming of spring,
Absolutely. Yeah. They can never stop the coming of spring, no matter how many roses they pluck.
Yeah.
Speaking of plucked roses, do we want to get to the Philadelphia story, since it's top in American news right now?
Yeah, that was Carlos. You want
to go ahead and touch on that? Yeah, or Carlos or anybody to talk about the specific video we have.
Yeah, so Joe Biden, well, what a man.
Yeah.
So after a night of civil unrest, do you guys want to cover the story? Because I didn't actually hear too much about it, so.
I believe his name was Walter Wallace Jr. I might be getting that wrong. We don't have a piece here, but he was mentally ill, and he had a knife, and he was It was called for, a mental distress or, a mental distress case. And instead of sending mental health professionals, they send out police officers. And the video, I hadn't watched it, but most said that the police officers were, 10, maybe even farther feet from him when they began firing into him. And his mother was also there. His mother was pleading with the officers, like, "Hey, he's not harming anyone right now. Like, we don't need to like escalate things any further. He has mental health issues. Like, can you send people out here that can deal with this like adequately?" And rather than do that, we end up with yet another lost life due to the violent police regime in this country.
We've had a talk about police, being terrible at mental wellness checks multiple times on this show. I think we've already done this like 3 times now.
It's like every other show we do it.
And it, and the point still stands. We need to defund the fuck out of this police system, and we need to revitalize, our social programs, our mental health programs, and our communities. When you give this type of power to a system that's already corrupt and broken, nothing's gonna get fixed, and only more innocent people are gonna be harmed. A couple of shows ago, we just covered a case, not to take away from this, obviously, but where they shot a child with I believe autism, and it's never gonna stop until we completely change how policing works in this country, and as well as how we deal with crime and the root causes of crime, of course. But yeah, we have
damage will be done if we don't do anything about it.
But yeah, we have this video here. Biden, obviously protests ensued after everything happened, which I think it is Walter Wallace Jr.'s name. Sorry again if I'm messing it up, but obviously protests came about after, and there was rioting, and reports of looting. I don't give a fuck about looting. Who fucking cares? It's property. Innocent people.
Yeah, and looting
an innocent man died. Who fucking cares about this shit? But anyway, President nominee Joe Biden was asked about the situation, and let's listen to what he has to say about it.
Thanks for taking off to do an interview.
It's right in the beginning, Carlos.
But thanks for taking the time to cover it, and as we are.
Mr. Vice President, the shooting in Philadelphia, what do you say to Philadelphia residents that are outraged by yet another unarmed black man being shot by police?
What I say is that there is no excuse whatsoever for the looting and the violence. None whatsoever. I think to be able to protest is totally legitimate. It's totally reasonable.
We can stop it there because we've already got his response, and that response is just as callous as the Republican Party's response is. It's not going to do anything to change the conditions that caused this, and we're just going to blame you for
for being upset.
Reaction. Yeah, more than upset. Like,
instead of addressing the issue at hand, which is police brutality, obviously, and it's demonstrable that it affects the black community more. Instead of actually talking about these things, I'm just going to ignore you and then say you're the problem. You shouldn't be looting. You shouldn't be rioting. You shouldn't be burning down police precincts, etc., because that's a no-no. Even though we allow this police state to have the overwhelming majority of violence in this country, and we'll just kill you, and you're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as it's violence against their capital interests, they're no longer okay with it.
Yeah.
Whether it's Joe Biden or Donald Trump.
It really shows that's what they care about, because that's when they get mad.
And the problem is, for decades and decades, that's just how we've been educating, or that's how they've been educating the American people. So now you see this jerk reaction from just normal people who don't own businesses, to be disgusted by this instead of being like, oh, I wonder what they're talking about. Oh, I wonder why they're mad.
Or it's just the ideology that makes you immediately worry more about the businesses.
Exactly. It's like, oh, why did they burn down this building?
Yeah, and then what caused the rioting, you don't wonder, what caused the violence?
You're like, oh, they shouldn't riot. Well, I wonder why they're rioting. What could have happened to stop them rioting?
What social conditions caused this? And as we see from this video, it doesn't matter, Dem or Republican. They don't give a fuck about the conditions that caused it. They know the conditions. Capitalism, and they're both for it. want
Yeah,
unregulated, unlimited capital. They
And
don't give a shit.
and
It's like-
specifically with this situation, it's Joe Biden, the crime bill guy. Like,
Exactly.
like
yeah.
this guy of all people is not going to give a fuck about dying, like black people dying. Like this guy is like, yeah, he's literally the most like one of the most Republican Democrats. You think he fucking cares?
It's
Wanna
like
say something, Carlos?
it's like we're watching an old kingdom in the Middle Times where the peasants are trying to rise up from their oppressive conditions. They're just getting totally wrecked. And it's like people are looking at this kind of a situation and saying, boy, what a bunch of ungrateful, horrible people.
Yeah.
And not the
peons are getting so unruly. Yeah.
It's all a framework that never challenges the power structure. And that's why they want to. That's why the media propagates it.
Do you want to?
As
Do you want
long
to?
as it's not in their best interest, they'll do nothing about it. It's
Yeah.
absolutely.
Exactly.
Because the media has become
we
part of
can
that
move
power
on from this,
structure.
Yeah. Jake, you wanted to
media
talk
is
about?
intertwined. Yeah, let's another South American thing. We just want to touch on this quick so we can get to our little break and then we have our interview. We don't want to leave our guests too long. It's from the Buenos Aires Times. I'll read from the headline here. Chileans overwhelmingly vote to scrap Pinochet-era constitution. Chile voted overwhelmingly on Sunday, that's this Sunday, to scrap its Pinochet-era constitution and draft a new one. With more than half the votes counted, 77.9% backed a fresh charter, a key demand by protesters that took to the street last year in huge numbers. From the article, Chileans voted overwhelmingly in a landmark referendum Sunday to replace their dictatorship-era constitution, correctly named, neoliberal dictatorship-era constitution, I would have added, long seen as underpinning the nation's glaring economic and social inequalities. The results set off wild celebrations across the capital and other cities after voters turned out in droves to overthrow the constitution left by the regime of 1973 to 1990 dictator Augusto Pinochet. Thousands of people flocked onto the streets of Santiago amid a cacophony of horn blaring to celebrate victory for the Approve campaign within minutes of the polls closing. Here quote, "I never imagined that us Chileans would be capable of uniting for such a change," said a jubilant Maria Isabel Nunez, 46, as she walked in the crowd hand in hand with her 20-year-old daughter. With more than half the votes counted, the Approve campaign has amassed 77% of the vote, with the Reject campaign polling just 22%. Among the 60,000 Chileans living abroad who voted in 65 nations, the vote was 86% for a new constitution and 13% against. Officials said about 15 million Chileans were eligible to vote. Acknowledging the result, President Sebastián Piñera called on the nation to work together for a new constitution in a speech broadcast from his Moneda Palace surrounded by his cabinet. A quote from the president, "This plebiscite is not the end. It is the beginning of a path that we must all walk together to agree on a new constitution for Chile," which is a very funny, pivot from, not pivot, but statement to come from the leadership of the country, because they didn't do jack shit to, change this. It's the people that rose up for a year now. If we can recall, a year back when they rose the subway fares a couple cents, and most working class people there use the subways every day. They couldn't afford that. So what they did is they grouped up, mass organized, and they flooded the transits so that they couldn't count anybody's transit cards. No one had to pay. So they were forced to bring that down. They were forced to reinvest into the transit system. You see here that they're also forced to create a new referendum and change the constitution, which I might add, let's not forget Augusto Pinochet, our poster child in South America. The quote, Chicago boys, Milton Friedman, etc. They're the guys that put in this neoliberal goon, for years, and it's led to torture, massacres, among other things.
And I think this just further reinforces before we continue on. I think this just further reinforces like our whole thing is just, when the system is obviously failing, we can't rely on it to fix our problems. We have to mass organize as a people, as a united working class front that want change and will not stop until we get change. And that's our whole thing. And to see this happen around the world is it's not only humbling, but it's very awesome to see, and it's inspiring.
Yes.
And I only hope that we can build a huge, diverse working class coalition to bring about real change in this country. Get the working people what they need, and fix the glaring problems in our society.
Yes.
Did anybody else have anything to add?
Yeah, if anyone, because I'm just gonna finish out this.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go to it. You can skip to the full of hope section. We can skip the rest of the. We don't care what the president says really. To the top of the Carlos, the full of hope.
Nomad, thank you for the follow. We appreciate that.
Police have fired tear gas and water cannon in brief clashes with stone-throwing demonstrators in Plaza Italia, epicenter of months of protests as night fell. However, the violence was replaced by celebration after the police retreated. Earlier, in long, orderly lines across Santiago and in cities across the country, mass voters shuffled patiently towards polling stations to participate in the historic referendum. The vote came a year to the day after more than 1 million people thronged downtown Santiago amidst a wave of social unrest that left 30 people dead and thousands wounded. The sheer size of the October 25th march demonstrated the breadth of social discontent and proved a tipping point in demonstrators' demands for a referendum, which goes back to our Bolivia thing too. It's, of course, this vote it matters, but there was movements that led up to this. Within weeks, Piñera had agreed to initiate a process to draft a new constitution, beginning with a referendum to decide the fate of the current text. This is the last piece I'll read here because I feel like it's really poignant. A quote, "I am full of hope that things will change and that we will bring a radical turnaround in this country," said Romina Nunez, 42, a poll organizer at the National Stadium in Santiago, the country's biggest polling station. And as they point out here, thousands were voting at the vast stadium, which achieved infamy as a detention center where military regime opponents were tortured. And yeah, that specific center, when Pinochet took over, activists, artists, poets, lots of people were bused to that detention center. They were tortured. They were chopped up into little pieces. They were disappeared forever. So look at the change that we are actually, implementing. We changed that horrible, landmark of oppression and, neoliberal massacre, and we've changed it into a positive, force where they were able to organize and get rid of this ass constitution that's been plaguing them since the 70s.
And we can only hope that they continue this organization to bring about, a real a working class backed constitution.
Yes. Which the signs of the protests that led up to this show that should be the direction they're heading in. Yeah, as you said, Ian, if they collaborate with these other international socialist movements like Bolivia, it's going to be more likely.
Yeah. So
does anyone have anything to say for the break?
No, I think we're good.
I think you summed it up, and we should get over to the.
Yeah, so we're gonna go to our first break, and when we come back, we're gonna have our special guest, Cola Boy. Hope you guys are ready for that. It's gonna be a good one. Again, thank you guys so much for the support and for watching, and we'll be back after this song. Thank you guys.
Please stay with us. We'll be quick.
You.
Hello. We all in?
We are
me
here.
We're back.
hold on. I'm trying to figure out how to. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we hear you.
See you too. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I see.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
what's up?
What's up? Thank you so much for doing this.
Yes, everybody,
Yeah, thanks
please.
for having me.
Warm welcome.
If we can
Yeah,
get
our
a-
very own. Oxnard's very own.
So Ian, do you want to go ahead and kick it off?
Yeah, first things first, I want to say thank you for coming. It's really awesome. And we hope this isn't the only time. We really quick, we kind of just wanted to ask you to give it, like a brief description of yourself, maybe how you got into politics, and like your own kind of like your own story and like your radicalization almost.
Okay. Well, my name's Boyy. I'm from Oxnard, of course. I got into. I don't know. I guess I grew up in the punk scene, so the punk scene always had a kind of like a sometimes I guess surface level like amount of like politics, like anti-capitalism and like anti-government sentiments, but it's pretty surface level. It was always pretty surface level, just kind of like, fuck this shit, whatever, blah blah blah. But I kind of got more into like specific like revolutionary politics probably when I was like 5 years ago or something like that, reading like about the Black Panther Party, like reading
Nice.
Huey Newton. He explains a lot of like theoretical concepts in a way that's really easy for like normal, like average people to understand. It wasn't super academic or like, it was really palatable, digestible. So I really got into it from there, and yeah, I don't know, just been reading shit since then.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Right.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing. 2 weeks ago on our last show, we actually played to open. I think we played one of your songs titled "All Power to the People."
Yeah,
We did.
cool.
Yeah, and in that song, you say, I'll quote it here. Excuse me for the butchering. Quote. So we gotta stick
okay.
together. That's what's right.
Uh-huh.
White supremacy and empire, left and right.
Yeah.
We're gonna march on that pig power structure so we can liberate from all sides.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just love this quote because, I mean, obviously, not only does it represent, like, I think what our show is all about,
Mm-hmm.
I think, in a larger sense, it kind of is the unspoken or unseen vision, if you will, of a lot of the youth in our city. And my question for you is, what personal struggles and experiences shaped, your political messaging in your music? And it maybe more specifically, how's living in Oxnard shaped your worldview and your art?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. I'd say that for me, I think like, that song specifically is very overtly political, but not all my music
Yes.
is, it's not, I'm not always trying to shove like my working class politics down the throats of like the people who listen to my music. But I think that there's a working class character to all my songs that like everyday people in Oxnard or wherever around the world or in this country and shit, like they can relate to, and through that, like from them relating to my music, they learn to trust me, and when they trust me, that's when they're gonna listen to me and my ideas about like revolution and about like working class politics or like, specifically revolution or revolutionary politics. So I kind of like yeah, I don't know if that answers the question.
No, it does. I get it. 'Cause it's like you draw them in with a wider just sound, and then maybe as they become familiarized with you, they're like, oh, okay, maybe I can listen to this guy's revolutionary politics on this specific song. And yeah, I think that is an important approach.
Yeah, and I think that like not everything has a class character to it, whether it's overtly political or not, it's gonna either be like serving the working class or serving the bourgeoisie. So even though I'm not singing about like destroying capitalism like all crazy tough, even if I'm talking about, I have a new song that's gonna be released, and it's literally about like getting too much bills and like mail in the mailbox, and like, and how you just want to like burn it all up and shit. So like, even though that's not like, it's not saying like revolution this and that, it's still something that I think like working class people all experience and can relate to. And then
Yeah.
in that aspect of it, that can be worth so much more than just always overtly talking about revolution, or like these concepts that yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk. Sorry, maybe I'm.
No, you're right, because
No,
I think
Yeah.
it'll turn people off if you just smash.
Yeah, if you sit there and try to like preach theory at them, they're not really gonna like respond well. But if you put it in a way that's like super, like everybody gets it, like everybody fucking feels that when the bills are piling up on you, like yeah, you're doing it in a relatable way that
Yeah, people can
anybody
tell when
can
you're just trying to tell them what to
That's
do, or
important.
whether you're trying to understand them or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, in reality, like I'm not so arrogant. You know, there's so much that the people I learn from them. You know, they're the ones who have all this life experience and all this experience in the daily struggle that they go through as working people. That like I learn from them. You know, and like it's not just about what I have to say to people, but it's what I can observe and listen and learn from them. You know.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I can say that better. Yeah.
I mean, they say the masses make history, right? So,
Right. Yeah. Exactly. If I could follow it up with another question, kind of given this whole, I mean, general unrest that's happened the last 8-9 months, and unrest that's happened here too. We've seen a lot of community organizing in our own community in recent months. Standing up to police brutality, censorship, myriad of oppression.
Yeah.
What do you, specifically as an artist, I would say, what do you see as the political future of Oxnard, whether it be groups, movements? Where's our path forward?
I would say like the path forward would be the same path that I hope for all of like working class communities in this country is like a revolution, you know? That's it may be a process, you know, along an arduous road, but that's what I see. I don't, I see that I mean, the conditions of this country are awful, and they're only getting worse, you know. So as they get worse, the people respond to it, you know. And as long as there's organization and there's unity, and there's like courage and rebellion, then things are only gonna move forward. I'm optimistic about that. So from what I'm seeing in Oxnard, it's really fucking cool.
Yes.
And it's really cool to see that I don't know. It's just fucking cool to see, and it makes me really happy and proud to be, and again, proud to just be from this city and be living in this time. And as hard of a time that it is, it's a historic moment, you know.
Yeah. Pressure makes diamonds, man, and
Yeah.
we're really here. Not just us, obviously, especially all the like the Ox Rev group, the Ox Rev study, like the students that do the Tribune magazine. They're putting in work. They're awesome. They organized the thing at OHS that was just on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So yeah, big shout out to them.
Fuck yeah.
I think the way you open that too with like, we can't. It's nothing short of revolution too. I think there is a power in being upfront about that.
Yeah.
Like, we have to acknowledge, like, in front of it is an arduous road. It's going to be really hard, and it's only going to get harder.
And it's definitely not something that might happen in our lifetime, but we have to create the foundation for them to move forward, and be like militant in a way about how we move currently. Like like these are important times, and we have to make sure that we spend this time, like really creating a foundation.
Right, focusing on the things that are more important. Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it will happen in our lifetime. You know, I'm not. I mean, I think that capitalism is in
Oh, yeah.
decay. It's dying. I mean, imperialism is supposed to be it's the last stage of capitalism, right?
Yeah.
So like
Yes.
and as we're seeing millions of people all over the world are rebelling, like I think the time is sooner than some people think. But I think that there's a
Right.
lot of people that maybe feel that it's easy to say. It's easy to say. It might not. And I'm not saying this because y'all said it, but I'm just like the idea that that it might not be in our lifetime is like
Far off.
it won't
Yeah.
be in our lifetime if we
keep putting it off.
yeah.
Yes,
So
We have
we
to do
don't
the
act.
change.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yep.
And to
And I
and to
think,
and to oh sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
No, it's okay. You go ahead.
Okay, sorry, yeah. And as to what you were saying just a second ago, like with imperialism, you can see the decline of U.S. imperialism specifically, like how we're failing in all these fronts, and how these countries are, kicking us out, especially with like Bolivia, ousting their U.S. backed fascist leader, and it's beautiful to see, and I definitely hope for the decline of U.S. imperialism.
Yeah. Hopefully in our lifetimes too. I want to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, come on.
I think the people that have to deal that death blow to imperialism though is gonna be people in this country. I'm not the kind of person who thinks I don't want another country to be the person, or to like I don't view it that like I'm waiting for another country to like fuck over like the US, like the US is in decay, but like it takes the working class of the United States to fucking deal that death blow into
Yeah. To crumble it from the inside.
and transform our society, to serve a greater like a greater like a revolution that's a world revolution,
Yeah.
That's how I see it. So yeah, and as far as like Latin America goes too, there's a lot happening there that is not really known about. Like I don't know if you guys have heard about what's happening in Brazil with the peasants in Brazil. Have y'all heard about that at all?
Are you talking about the whole helicopter thing? Like how there are, I might be, you can just go ahead and explain it, but like
Mhm.
kind of like how like the I guess the executives and like the rich people are like using like these helicopters to just fly over the poor parts of the city and just like instead I thought
Basically shoot down into the favelas, like
yeah,
people that
exactly.
would try
Yeah,
to come in.
if they feel threatened, they can shoot down. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like the Brazilian government is definitely like fascist. Like Bolsonaro is he's a fucking
Bolsonaro,
fascist.
yeah, absolutely.
But like specifically in Brazil right now, there's these peasants called there's peasants that lived on this land. They seized this land. This was how many families? I think it was like 200 families. So it was like 2,000 peasants seized the land from this big landlord named the old rooster. That was his nickname. He's a piece of shit. He's like a piece of shit landlord.
Jesus.
Really really rich landlord, and infamous a criminal as well. He does like faulty like contracts to get more land. But these peasants, they're part of the League of Poor Peasants is a name. They're called the LCP. They seized the land and built like these camps there, and were like they like seized the land back. They were living on this land, and they just recently, like a few weeks ago, the government led a siege against them and surrounded the entire camp with military like vehicles, and like they had helicopters that were like shooting at anyone that was trying to bring in food and like milk to the peasants. They would like the military was shooting them, uh, and then they led basically a raid of the entire camp and like displaced all the peasants from the camp, which is really fucked up.
Disgusting.
Yeah, and so that happened, but just recently, like a couple days ago, maybe, from what I've most recently read, the peasants like took the land back again,
Oh
um,
yeah.
which is fucking sick because these are very militant peasants. They're revolutionary. They're fucking like there's guerrillas in fucking Brazil. There's guerrillas. We don't really read about that. So that's just something I wanted to talk about because it's a really important struggle that's going on that needs to have more.
Yeah,
People need
thank
to
you.
pay more attention to, you know.
Yeah, more attention.
Yeah,
And I can send you guys a link to like
yeah, please.
Please
stories
do.
on
Yeah,
that
most
later.
definitely.
Yeah.
Please do. DM
that's
us or
one of-
even in this Discord call.
Other than Brazil, like Latin America at large, I mean, we love to cover it because it's so important. Yeah, as you're saying, there are these militant working class movements that we can not only model ourselves after, but take inspiration from, and etc. So
Yeah,
and it's very important to cover world news and not just the U.S. I mean, there's so
we
much
could-
more going
yeah,
on.
absolutely. It shows our
Right.
tentacles and how far
Mhm.
our
yeah,
imperialist reaches.
And from a
Plus-
from a concrete standpoint, like if we look at a country that has a peasant class, though it's a peasant class, and we don't have peasantry here in the United States. In Oxford specifically, we do have a large farm worker population. So we see peasant uprisings in like Brazil or in like Mexico, like in Oaxaca. There's like
Yes.
peasants that are fucking badass and they're revolutionary. So when we see those things, we not only look at what's happening all over the world, we tie it back to our own city, and we say like we say like how can we learn from them, you know, because like I said, though they're peasants and we don't have a peasant class. We have a farm worker population that's huge, who there are definitely a lot of similarities that can be connected between those two like experiences, those two like
Yes.
different classes,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and I think you're totally right, because if we use that mindset, it's like, okay, we need to mobilize and organize, our farm working population, and we need to let their voices be heard and fight for them too.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a shame because, like, in my experience from like when I used to do organizing more, so I don't really organize much at all anymore. But I when I used to, is that like the farm working like community is very like controlled by like nonprofits and like these fucking like these unions that are like toothless. Like they're not what unions used to be. They're just like they're giving concessions to like the bosses and like quelling like the fucking like rage of like the workers, and it's just fucking annoying. So it's just like yeah, the idea of seeing like bringing revolutionary like politics or revolutionary character to like the farm worker struggle in Oxnard or in California, uh to me seems like super important and like something I really am excited to see in the future and I hope for in the future.
But to kind of keep with that theme, I have another question for you. Just as a revolutionary too, but also as an artist, what advice can you give other artists in Oxnard and elsewhere, but specifically in Oxnard, who wants their art to inspire change? What role does the artist play in our community in combating racism, imperialism, capitalism, etc.?
I would say that that's a good question. I think artists like all art is a reflection of like class, class society.
As
Like
Trotsky would say, yeah.
I'm not I'm not big on Trotsky personally, but like a lot of like like a lot of like theorists have said that like Lenin and like Mao and all these fools. Like a lot of people have said it, but it's like a culture like it either serves the bourgeoisie or the working class, right? So like an artist, we should see ourselves as like a tool for like the struggle of the working people, So I think that I think that that just trying my best to do that, and I think how an artist can better do that, or how even like some people who have a podcast like y'all is like going amongst the people, like I get my ideas, from just day to day. Like when I write a song, I think about like real life situations that are people in my community are going through, and or I put a spin on it. I don't have, it's not always cut and dry, but just learning, like listening to the people, learning from them and taking what their ideas and kind of just like, synthesizing them and, and applying them to my music and my art. And I think, yeah, like I said, the same thing could be done on any format, a podcast, a radio, a painter. You know what I mean? Like, again, it just goes back to like, who is it that makes history, right? It's it's not me, the artist. It's not gonna be like me as Cola Boy. It's not gonna be a podcast or a fucking painter or it's gonna be the people. So we have to serve as a
Right.
reflection of them and like kind of I don't know if that makes sense, right? I mean,
yeah. Be a
Like,
mega,
you're
be a
more or less the
Perspective
conductor.
too.
yeah, be a
Yeah.
megaphone almost for the people.
yeah.
Yeah, you're the outlet.
And also like being like a tool of like encouragement or a tool of like getting people fucking like
Mm.
hyped and getting like having them being a reflection of them, but being like a height and reflection, you know, that shows like all their strengths and all their fucking create endless creativity that they have and all the fucking like power that they have, you know, reflect that so they see it and they see themselves and they're encouraged, inspired by it, just like we should be inspired by them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you put it very well. Yeah, and you're very you have a large influence on the people who also listen to you, and I think that's very important when it comes to writing your music as well.
Yeah, you know, it's something that's kind of cool that I'm not cool, but I really find interesting is that like the people who listen to my music, it's not like it's not a niche crowd. Is very like it's like a lot of just normal ass people, which is really cool
Yes.
to me.
Yeah.
Like it's not
Yeah.
like I have one like type of people that like my music, and I think that's something that really makes me happy,
Yeah.
because I think that means I'm doing an okay job at like relating to the broad amount of people, you know.
Mhm.
So
And to your point, it draws more people in too.
Yeah.
You're broadening your net, and you're bringing more people into the cause. Whatever way that is.
or just inspiring them to kind of
To
take
do
a
their
look at
thing.
take a look
Yeah,
at their
bring inspiration.
Right.
yeah take a look at their like what they're going through and you know reflecting and kind of like understanding what the root is of all this fucked up shit that goes on in our lives, you know.
Mhm.
Yes. And if anything, we need as much of that, that channeling and that artistry as we can get.
Yeah.
It's powerful. Does anyone else have another question? Or...
Yeah, I have a question.
Mhm.
From my friend Vince from Dead Heat. He asked me to ask you about DSA.
Oh,
DSA.
interesting.
Yeah. He
Oh.
said you had some interesting things to say about DSA.
The DSA? Why are you guys part of the DSA or something?
No. He just
No.
he told me to
I
ask
have
about
interesting
that.
opinions on DSA as well.
The DSA. I mean, they are a wing of the Democratic Party, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I
especially
don't-
certain DSA outlets too.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Specifically.
I think that like the big groups like that, they do a really fucking, unfortunately, a good job at tricking the broad, like not, but like they trick the certain type of person who actually cares and wants to do good and change in the world, and they trick them into showing them the wrong path to it. And I think that's fucking whacked. And I think that they're just fucking imperialists. They're imperialists at the end of the day. To me, they're fucking like you know, I'm not a but at the end of the day, like I'm not so worried because if you look outside and you look in the community, you don't see the DSA there.
Yeah.
You know, so
Exactly.
like I mean like the people of Oxnard don't know who the fuck that is and
Yes.
they could care less because they got real problems going on besides voting for some fucking imperialists. They got to worry about like if they can pay rent or if they got like if the fucking if they're going to uh get fucking evicted, you know, or like or if they can fucking put food on the table. They got more shit to worry about and like the DSA ain't going to be there for them to fucking fix those conditions, you know?
Yeah.
Only the community at large is. That's
Yep.
it. The people.
Yeah. Exactly. So
That was definition of chef's kiss. That
Yeah,
was great.
that was awesome.
Do you have any final thoughts or anything you would like to say or promote?
no, I'm curious about y'all. Like, what like? So, like, I'm curious about you guys' like, you guys' backgrounds and stuff, and like, how y'all got into your politics and like, and if you guys have any experience like organizing or experience like going to like protest or being any sort of like being in the streets and shit? I'm curious.
Yeah. Do you want to go first, or I can go first?
You can go first. That's
Okay.
fine.
So my name's Eian. I grew up in Oxnard almost all my life. I lived in Texas for a couple of years because of some custody stuff when I was a little kid. But born and raised here in the Nard. This is my hometown. These are my people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I grew up in a, I guess, relatively like a conservative home, I guess. But around 2016 maybe, around the time Trump got elected, I kind of started paying attention more to politics, as I was getting older, and and that's kind of when things started to turn around for my family. A lot of things happened, and I ended up being removed from my home, and we moved into this apartment here, and there were losses and stuff, and that kind of just further radicalized me, and kind of looked at the system and like each and every factor of what happened, and I kind of I figured it out, like it all relates back to capitalism, and that got me interested in how we can move past capitalism and what to do, and I'm still learning every day. I would consider myself maybe like or when I first got into politics, I guess definitely like a social democrat, still within the capitalist realm, but as the years go on, I'm definitely post-capitalist now, and I'm still doing my learning every day, and I'm doing what I can. But organizing wise, I've never done anything organizing. I've gone to a couple things here and there, like a couple climate change things. I went to the big George Floyd protest that happened here.
The one where fools were that was like 500 people in the streets, like
and then at the start there was that one guy who's like, "Colonia is here."
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah.
Because up until that moment that they were driving around too, like, man, it went pretty perfect. Like,
it was pretty smooth up until the end, and that's right around when we left is when they started doing.
As soon as they hit the grass, you're like, oh, we should get out of here.
But
I think like I found it really I find that really like it was interesting because like there's like the VC Star, the VC Reporter.
All the press was on
the
that.
press. Yeah, they're fucking bourgeois press. They don't give a fuck about like the actual cause. They just care about like sensationalizing and demonizing like the working class. They portray themselves as liberal, but in the end of the day, like they are liberal, but they're reactionary. They don't really serve the fucking like the people, and that's such a good example because there was so much beautiful fucking like unity and rebellion that day of like all kinds of young people and shit.
Yeah, and then
like they focused on that.
Yeah, we heard nothing but, oh, look at this, they're destroying your own city, but you care about it. Like it's just it's a bunch of backlash.
Just looking at like on the negatives.
And at the end of the day, it was fucking grass. At the end of the day, it gives a fuck.
Man.
To me, like like I'm glad nobody got fucking hurt. Like no one like no like bystanders got hurt from the car, but like that grass, this shit grows back. At the end of the day, like lives don't come back, so people are being killed by the police. So like I could personally give a fuck about some grass at the end of the day.
Hell yeah. And as we mentioned, like the prior 8-9 hours before that was like
just
some of the most beautiful shit I've ever seen in the city.
Exactly. It was a community that really cared. We all came together, and and we did what we had to do. And it sucks that this like you were saying, like there's just this liberal media. All they care about is getting their pieces to make their money. They don't care about what's actually going on in the city. Jacan, did you want to go next? Talking about kind of like yourself.
Yeah, I guess it's like a short intro. Yeah, my name's Jacan Stone. I've grown up Oxnard my whole life. We all went to high school together, Oxnard High School. I think I was pretty to the left, but for all of us, 2016 was our senior year. So it was like, it was definitely a veil, removing moment. And obviously I've grown up with my own privileges too. I've grown up, relatively well off. I live in a pretty nice community. And despite all that, like, 2016, it wasn't just, the veil getting pulled, seeing, a fascist like Trump, conglomerate into the office, but it was seeing there's no, other response. The Democratic response was, we don't give a fuck about any of you.
Yeah.
And, to another point too, another one of my big radicalizers is, Carlos in here. We went through a lot of, let's say, radicalization together, and we read a lot of readings together, and I'm sure many people know Mr. Borneman from Oxnard High School too. He was a big part of my radicalization as well.
Borneman? What was his name?
Yeah, Robert Borneman. Have you not heard of him? Oh, he's amazing.
I've heard this name before.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember if like I went to Pacifica High School, and I'm trying to remember if he taught at Pacifica at one point, or I went to Oxnard High for one year. But that name sounds really familiar.
Yeah, I took his class as well. Yeah.
Unfortunately,
I didn't take it with them. I took it by myself. But yeah, he's an awesome guy, and he was definitely like an integral part of me, like getting into this like serious politics and not kind of just the vote, kind of thing. Like it definitely got me into like looking at ways to fix our problems, kind of thing.
A lot of people.
Yeah, well, I think the way he does that too is he's a government teacher, but he follows none of the guidelines the school gives him.
Yeah,
he doesn't use the textbook they give him. He doesn't do any of that shit.
Damn.
It's almost, if anything, it's a political theory class.
Yeah,
we make fun of the textbook on the first week.
Yep.
The first week is describing how the textbook is written by Republicans in Texas, and how its capitalist interests are poured into the textbook, and shout out to him.
Yeah, he's an awesome teacher.
Shout out to Borneman. That's awesome. I wish I had a teacher like that in high school. I did not.
There needs to be more of them.
Yeah, there definitely does.
In college, I've had a lot more teachers like that too, but they're still not the majority. It's just sad to see.
Yeah.
Carlos or Michael, do you guys want to give like a brief description? Or?
I'll go next. I'm Carlos, and I've pretty much lived in Oxnard like most of my whole life. My grandma originally moved back here and raised my mom and uncle, and that was back in like the 60s. So they've been in Oxnard for like probably longer than most people. So they kind of always given me that like that kind of like old school upbringing, where it's like you try to show people respect, and like you hope people show you respect back.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of like Jacan, since we've been friends for such a long time, we've all kind of had our same political developments more or less together. And for me it was finding a lot of like online progressive media voices that kind of started getting me on that track. Because like most people, we all watch cable news at some point, and they kind of introduce you to politics in some way, but it's such a shallow and like surface level analysis that it kind of almost begs the question, like, what more is there? And that's kind of what I got fulfilled, and what made me start looking at things a different way.
That's what pushes you to go, okay, well, what news is there on YouTube? Like, where can I actually find real, independent leftist news that's not being...
Yeah, it was just independent voices more than anything, like people who weren't bought and controlled. Yes. So even if you didn't agree with them, it's like you knew they didn't really have some kind of like overarching motive. Yeah, it's just they'd say what they thought. And I think a lot of people are kind of being exposed to more that kind of media these days, which I think is definitely a good thing.
Yes.
You
want to go ahead?
Michael,
honestly, I'm just gonna keep it really short because there isn't much about it. Just like Jacan. So I was born here in Oxnard for like since the beginning, and I've been here for the majority of my life. But in the beginning, my parents ended up splitting, and I actually had I guess like a issue with like, or they had an issue with who should take me. What's the word? Like take me into custody. And I was with in my mom's hands for a long time, and I actually ended up going all the way to South Carolina. And I was very young; I had no idea. Eventually, my dad won the court, or won the case for the court, and he got full custody of me. And that's when my real life started becoming a reality here in Oxnard. And I really do appreciate growing up here, as it's such a great community, and I really do enjoy it. But as for politics, I was never really politically involved. Neither was my family, till I met these guys, and they really. It's just the beginning, man. It's just like this is the start of like something new, and I just want to learn with everybody else. So.
And something I would like to point out too is Michael, had a couple health scares that I think were really transformative in his politics as well.
Yeah,
I think it made him realize the need for healthcare. And
yeah, growing up, or as of recently, right after high school, I started having a lot of anxiety. I don't really know what the cause was. Had a few panic attacks. Obviously, I didn't know it was a panic attack. Went straight to the hospital. Thought I was dying, and got a hit with a huge medical bill. And I'm like, what the fuck is this, man? Like, I can't pay for this. Like, I don't got a job. Like, I'm fresh out of high school. I didn't know what to do, and I just didn't. That's when it really hit me about like we need to take care of this in our system, and this is just not right at all. And just like Jacan said, that's when it was really. That's when I knew there was.
I think that was a big rabbit hole for you.
Yeah, definitely.
As soon as that opened up, you're like, okay, like what else is fucked?
Yeah.
That's interesting because that's kind of like, I think that was kind of like something for me growing up too, as a being disabled and stuff, like not understanding why I was different, or like knowing that I was different or treated differently, but not understanding why, and kind of like getting answers to that and being like, oh shit, and kind of yeah, it's really great to get the answers to why all this shit is fucked up, and like it's really in a weird way kind of like grounding or something, and
Definitely.
and I used to be a pretty angry guy when I was younger, but getting the answers and understanding like capitalism is like the fault of like all this shit. It's not like individual foods who are assholes like necessarily, and so like that definitely helped me, and I think really shaped me as well. It's cool to hear that having those real life experiences is what shapes us in the most, and I think that to go back to like learning too and reading, as we all do, we read our theory, we read our political texts and whatnot. All that stuff can develop us so much, but nothing compares to our own like life experiences and practice, and reading but then applying what we read in real life and going outside and applying that, because like for the most is like we learn from doing, in my opinion, like there's things that, like, let's say you read, like, you could read something and you read it, you're like, yeah, I get it. Like, this is dope as fuck. But then you go outside and you like, you apply that, like, whatever that is that you read, and you find, it's like science project or something, and you see the steps and you see the synthesis of it, and you understand like, okay, fuck, like, and if it goes wrong, you learn like, oh shit, it went wrong. Well, let me try it a different way. You'll never get that from just reading a book, or like, as many books as we read, like nothing compares to like real experience and real practice, so I think these life experiences where they develop us and they like really shape us is a good like organic example of that.
Yeah, our experiences.
I totally agree.
Yeah,
like
100%.
they're both needed for a synthesis.
Yeah, I mean
Definitely.
that's Marxism right there,
Absolutely. Yeah. You might read something and not understand it until you experience it, or you might experience it and then
And you read it
once
later.
you open up the text.
Yeah,
And then you're like, okay, now I do this practice, I can understand.
yeah, the balance of theory and practice, right? It's
Yes,
crucial.
absolutely.
Even us
well,
artists and whatnot,
sorry.
No, that's all. Oh, my bad. Yeah.
What were you
Yeah,
gonna
I was
say?
gonna say even
I was really curious about what you're gonna say.
I would say even like me, like artists and shit, or like, or like I could sit in my room and just like play my fucking guitar on my in my synthesizer and record all day and all night and like just do that. But like that's not what I want to do, you know, especially with like the world outlook that I have, like fuck that, you know. So I think that can apply to everybody, like no matter what area like you're in, like if we have this world outlook, it's like our duty to fucking like to go out with the people and to like really put our politics uh to practice, you know, in whatever way that we can. It might be different for like an organizer than it is for like me, a musician, you know, but it's still there's gonna be something that I can do where I can apply what my world outlook or my working class outlook to like the art that I make. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I encourage you fools to go out there, go outside, fucking organize, you know, like do a fucking like I don't know, go to a fucking protest and like yeah, okay, we saw. I mean, you guys are creative guys. I'm sure you are thinking about shit like that, but you know.
Oh yeah, I mean that was kind of the inspiration for this too. Is like we want to work with other people and use this, you know, theory, reading articles, etc., readings, and put that into practice and help other people put that into practice.
Bring people in, teach them, and as well as organize and become a bigger community outside of the different groups that we may belong in within, you know, the group or the community. Like, yeah, that's our whole thing. Is like, you know, we're trying to you know, teach people and help people understand these ideas, the radicalism from other ideas. But yeah, like, you know, be a strong, tight knit community, especially here in Oxnard.
Yeah, put on Oxnard Voices.
Yeah, put on Oxnard Voices. You know, we try to make sure all of our music is local artists, etc. Like, we do what we can to give back to the community that raised us and radicalized us and supports us currently. You know, that's like that's our thing.
Cool, hell yeah.
Oh,
well, I really appreciate y'all having me.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And
it was
hopefully
awesome.
I see you guys soon in the streets. You know, you never know. I try to go out and support stuff here and there when I can. So if I can do it, y'all can do it too. You know?
Yeah, hell yeah.
And all the people listening, they can go.
Yeah, all the people listening, absolutely.
So I'm excited to I don't know. I think I need some more coffee. My bad.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
I'm already hyped up on coffee, but I want more actually.
Yeah. You can never have enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. It was super awesome. If there's anything you want to plug, you know, any special release dates for new music or anything, let the people know. We really appreciate it.
It's horny for me.
I really am.
I have a new song coming out soon. In like a less than a month.
Hell yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say, but it's cool, and I think it's a fun one.
Sweet.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, I think I just want
definitely plug that when it comes.
Yeah, I just want to encourage everybody listening to, you know, get out and organize, you know, get involved. There's a lot of new groups in the community in Oxnard, revolutionary organizations that are fucking badass. Like you guys mentioned, Oxrev Study and like Revolutionary Student News and Tribune of the People. So I would say, yeah, like get involved because, you know, the time is now. Shit's fucking, the world, capitalism is in decay. And it's all, you know, we all got to do our part.
Yes, absolutely. On that note, let's go ahead and hit our break. Thank you for everyone that stayed with us. Thank you so much, Boyy, for being here. This was awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's do something like this again if we can. Have a good night.
Yeah, have a good night. Thank you so much.
Yeah, see y'all later.
Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and go in. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and go into a break. We'll catch everybody after the break. Give you guys a song and then we'll be back. Thank you guys. We'll be back.
You might need somebody with a horn.
Not tonight, Joey.
That's a pretty mellow horn. You know yourself, when I pick it up and I blow it, I can make them cry.
too soon to see what lies under full moons. Night gloom coming and going into the time flu. Now mind you, you don't always have to look behind you. Just keep moving forward. Ain't no time to rewind. Do the fine tune program complete with my insanity. Can it be the bad in me is traveling to battle thee? Archaic monster, Galactus in his stature. Fuck reminisce. I burn the pictures that I capture. I'm after trying to get revenge upon my master. I have to strike fast and you ain't striking faster. I'll cast a spell upon your temple. Incremental, instrumental, sentimental. God is chilling on the elemental planes. Acidic rains burning through my chains. Set me free from the shame and gain the fame. And I'm just trying to keep my brain sane and maintain everything I keep the same. Keep the coins I don't want change. And another one, this Cupid psychopath shooting with his lover's gun. Tons of fun, but his actions spawned another son. Pretended like he couldn't confess it, but he couldn't run. Should have done what it takes to get up to the sun. Burn up in the atmosphere, nigga, that's one well done. Walking home and I start feeling cold. And I notice that there's two lonely souls on Abbey Road. And so, the hill of life gets a little steeper. We'll be able to fly, so don't fear the reaper. Embrace death, but embrace life more. Fate knocking on your door more than ever before. So stand along the shore, prepare to witness the gore that came from the war as the innocent poor crack. Short stack showed up and back. He got his clone zapped over some whack and it ended up in a slow clap. Enough. I'm tired of hearing it, tired of hearing all your lies, so shove a spear in it. Music saturated with shit, so I'm clearing it. Look at your wide open eyes, I'm striking fear in it.
Which do you prefer?
Yep.
You're back.
That
was awesome.
Yeah, that was super cool.
Yeah,
that was great.
For those who aren't looking at chat, obviously his Instagram and Twitter is at Boyy with 2 Y's. So please go show him some love if you didn't come from him, or if you don't follow him already.
Right.
And yeah, to speak on what he just said before he left, like, you know, a big thing is us being a community, and most people watching here from Oxnard. So it's, you know, getting out and organizing as a community to bring about change in our locality, as well as, you know, hopefully our state. But, you know, we need to be a strong and unified group of not only just youth, but, you know, whoever wants, you know, to help. Like, we have to organize and we have to be the change. So yeah.
I think we've done pretty good in balancing that too. Like, we try to cover, you know, obviously world events and stuff. And interviewing him, he was speaking on world events too, because they're important in developing, you know, stuff here. But it's like, yeah, we got to have Oxnard voices on. We got to talk about Oxnard politics, because that's where we have, you know, the power to change things, mostly.
Yeah, I think we could probably do a better job on that going forward, just trying to do more local stories and stuff.
Well, obviously, and I think as we work with more people, it will get easier too.
We want to keep our whole international focus as well, because part of it is we got to build an international consciousness, or else, like how we were talking about earlier, like the United States, obviously, as we can see, we're not going to be on top for very much longer, and if we kind of let things slip, then China could easily just become like us, even if they're just a bit more.
Next totalitarian state.
They just might be a bit more humane about it.
Yeah.
In humanity, should
not
we,
much
should
though.
we kick off our first? Yeah, not much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to?
Yeah. Let's take it from the top here. Jumping right back into our international stuff. We have what's going on in Nigeria currently with the end SARS movement. We have an article here from the New York Times, and then Jacan has a video for us. Yeah, so it started here at the top. First from the New York Times. Nigerian forces fire on protesters. The toll is unclear, but witnesses said several people were shot during demonstrations against police brutality in Lagos. The governor said miscreants had hijacked mostly peaceful protests. Lagos, Nigeria. Nigerian security forces opened fire Tuesday night at a demonstration in Lagos against police brutality, hitting several people according to witnesses, in a major escalation of the unrest that has gripped the country for 2 weeks. The extent of casualties was unclear, but some witnesses reported seeing people who were killed. Videos posted on social media crackled with apparent gunfire and showed people who were wounded and uniformed. I can't talk or read. Uniformed forces shooting into the air. A police officer who witnessed the episode and spoke on the condition of he was speaking anonymously, said that 11 people had been killed, but that report cannot be immediately corroborated. The shooting came toward the end of the day, mounting police violence in multiple cities, with national police deploying riot squads in the capital, Abuja and Lagos, and elsewhere. The unrest spread even after President Muhammadu Buhari attempted to respond to the protesters' demands by announcing last week that he would disband a special unit of police officers accused of brutalizing people. And then skipping down just a little bit. After news reports early Tuesday that police had killed 2 more people in Lagos, the country's largest city and economic hub, the crowd set a police station there ablaze. Despite the violence and curfew declared by the governor of Lagos State, protesters refused to disband, blocking roads and demanding the police officers accused of wanton violence be put on trial. Uniformed forces were deployed to the Lekki Tollgate area, an upscale suburb of Lagos, where the biggest ongoing protests have been held, largely peaceful since October 7th. Beginning at around 7 p.m. on Tuesday, some of them began fire shortly after the streetlights were unexpectedly went out and security cameras were removed from the scene, witnesses said. A protester streaming the scene live on Instagram, sorry if I butchered the name here, Obianuju Catherine Ude, a DJ by the name of DJ Switch, said she counted 7 casualties around her. Sporadic gunfire went on for about an hour. We've already told them we're not going anywhere, she said. She's in front of her, a body lays motionless, and nearby protesters crowded around a man with what appeared to be a gunshot wound to his leg. And then skipping down just a little bit to where it says protesters in Nigeria. Actually, I'll go to the paragraph right above it. After the police station was burned, the governor declared a 4 p.m. curfew, giving people about 4 hours to get home in an immense metropolitan area with some 14 million people and some of the world's worst traffic jams. Many people had little hope of complying with curfew. Many others did not. And protesters in Nigeria, the most populous country in Africa, have been demanding that the government disband a rogue police unit called the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, commonly known as SARS, and that they say particularly robs, tortures, even kills well-dressed young people who officers think might have money. The crowds have also been called for punishment of officers who commit brutality. Last week, President Buhari agreed to dismantle SARS and carry out other police reforms, vowing to ensure that all those responsible for misconduct are brought to justice. But the demonstrations have been abated. People note that the government has promised before to do away with SARS, yet it still exists, and they argue that a newly created police unit will just be the same new menace in new uniforms.
It absolutely will.
Yeah. So if you're not fixing the actual problem at hand, it's literally you're just going to rebrand the same terrible things that are happening in the country. And that's kind of all I wanted to get from the article. And we have a really good video that you linked that we should bring up. That we'll talk about it better with less mispronunciations and stutters than I.
This is from Professor Milton Allimadi. I think he runs a publication to Black Star News. They do some decent articles every once in a while. They mostly on Africa, so check that out. I thought his video here was really cogent, and he talked about it well. We might skip around a little bit, but let's start from the beginning.
Greetings, sisters and brothers. This is Milton Allimadi, publisher of Black Star News, adjunct professor of African history at John Jay College here in New York City. I send greetings to Pan-African sisters and brothers all over the continent and all over the world. Today, I want to express solidarity and support for sisters and brothers in Nigeria. As all of you know by now, they've been resisting. They've been fighting against an outfield call Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS, and the hashtag #EndSARS has been the campaign over 2 weeks now. And 10 days ago, SARS was supposedly disbanded. The protests have continued because there are many other grievances. There's high level of unemployment, there's corruption, there's all the pressures that have been borne on Nigerians by the restrictions that have also been brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. And then yesterday we saw an escalation when the armed forces in Nigeria opened fire, first with tear gas and then with live bullets in Lagos against unarmed peaceful demonstrators. This is outrageous. This is why every African, every Pan-African, every individual of good conscience should come out and support the Nigerians and condemn this abuse of power by the state in Nigeria. No government in the world has the right or the authority to attack unarmed peaceful demonstrators using taxpayer-financed weapons and taxpayer-paid personnel of the armed forces to attack its own citizens. This is completely outrageous. We must condemn it in the strongest terms, and we must support the struggle people in Nigeria. We should do so by tweeting or posting information.
We actually skipped to 3:35. I thought prior to that statement was important, and past here, this is a really important statement too.
The continent and spare us all the unnecessary killings and start bringing youth into leadership positions in all these countries. And then another thing I want to point out, the cynical names that these outfits always assume. Special Anti-Robbery Squad. And then it turns out they're the biggest bandits. In Uganda, there was an outfit called Crime Preventers. They were carrying out the worst crimes. In addition to robberies, killing civilians who supported opposition parties, and they don't support the party of the current dictator, General Yoweri Museveni, a Western puppet who's been running the country for 34 years now with Western support. He serves the role that the late Mobutu used to serve in what was Zaire and now Congo, Democratic Republic of the Congo. Human rights abuses are ignored so long as he creates an enabling and accommodating environment for Western capital. And that is what General Museveni does in Uganda. We need to oppose the police abuse, government abuse of power in every African country. So Nigeria's struggle is not just a Nigerian struggle. It is a struggle for all Africans, for the well-being and dignity of every African. The Ugandan struggle, similarly, is a struggle for all Africans. And we saw the abuses carried out the police in South Africa, supposedly to enforce COVID-19 restrictions, committing some of the worst crimes against unarmed civilians in South Africa. So similarly, South African resistance to police abuse and government abuse of power should also be the struggle for every African, every person that wants African dignity to be elevated throughout the continent. So please, let's support our sisters and brothers in Nigeria so that tomorrow they can also come and support our struggles for our common humanity and dignity in Africa. Peace and blessing, comrades.
So yeah, and I think that latter half, puts it perfectly. He's like, and look at what a neighboring country, Uganda, is doing, and it's very similar to Nigeria. They're using, the military power, their police power to repress the people, oppress the people, and then accommodate to Western capital so that we can use the fuck out of them, steal their natural resources, steal their labor, and he points out the solution. They got to come together as an African, people whole, and internationally we got to support them too. Individually, of course, we got to support Nigeria, Uganda, but yeah, we have to have this mass vision that, human rights abuses anywhere, come back to hurt me as well. Not that that's what should make you change, but we're all interconnected and tied. So
yeah,
That's why you got to support human rights, because you never know when they're gonna be, or when the chance is gonna be to, use them, have the abuses used against you.
Yeah, and it's kind of
which is always the goal.
And it's kind of like what Carolina's talking about, how people will go on their Instagram and kind of just do the bare minimum of like, oh, I know what's going on by just posting, an uncensored dead body. And not only is it like very disrespectful to, those who have lost their lives because of this, but it's just more of that,
not
like,
informative.
Yeah, it's performative. It's nothing but like, look at me.
And performative.
Yeah.
Informative and not informative.
Yes,
like,
yeah.
Look how much information we got out of that like 3-4 minute video, and that had no bodies or anything in it. Like, it's not necessary.
Yeah.
I think there is a time and place to show that, and that does need to be documented. Absolutely.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be used as it shouldn't be used for like views and clicks on your Instagram story and whatnot. You should be using, especially if you have like a large following, you should be using it, to give like the information and the facts, and not care so much about
educate, mobilize,
as Carolina put it, just shock value.
Yeah,
that's why we gotta change our priorities.
Yeah, like the George Floyd video. I agree.
That's why. Carl said it right. We have to change our priorities.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to move on from this to the more Azerbaijan and Armenia news?
Yeah, I'll get. Dude, my camera just fucking fell over.
It was like fighting a war with his camera.
Keeps falling over. Okay, yeah. Let me.
Also, shout out a Planet INHA for the follow. We appreciate that. Sorry, I didn't say anything.
Awesome.
We're watching a video. Appreciate everybody for following. And as you can see by on the screen, we're getting super close to our follower goal. We'll unlock custom emotes for this channel, as well as our sub button. So if you feel like supporting us, just go ahead and drop a follow. It helps. But yeah, do we want to move on to
Yep.
So
RCMP.
Or the
Azerbaijan.
Yeah. So we've covered on the show here the last couple of shows talking about the whole Armenia Azerbaijan conflict over the Nagorno-Karabakh territory, and we have this article here from Al Jazeera talking about how both sides have accused each other of violating the new ceasefire, and we're gonna go ahead and get into that right. Starting from the top, Azerbaijan and Armenia trade blame for new truce violations. Armenia and Azerbaijan have accused each other of violating a new humanitarian ceasefire in the conflict over the mountainous enclave of Nagorno-Karabakh, shortly after it had been due to take effect on Monday. On Sunday, a joint statement from the U.S. Department of State and two governments said that the truce would take effect at 8 a.m. On Monday, adding that the U.S. Deputy Secretary of State, Stephen Biegun, I don't know his fucking name, had met the foreign ministers of the two countries on Saturday. On Monday, Azerbaijan's foreign ministry said Armenian forces shelled villages in the Terter and Lakin regions in gross violation of the truce. Hikmet Hajiev, aide to Azerbaijan's president, said the Armenian forces began their artillery attacks minutes after the truce began. And then we have a tweet here from them. Moving on. Nagorno-Karabakh's defense ministry said Hajiev's claim was misinformation and that the Azeri forces had launched a missile attack on Armenian military positions on the northeastern side of the line of contact. Armenia's defense ministry said Azerbaijani forces grossly violated the agreement with artillery fire on combat positions in various parts of the front line, 45 minutes after the truce came into effect. An earlier truce brought a brief lull on Saturday before each side accused each other of violating it. Azerbaijan and Armenia have locked in a bitter conflict over Nagorno-Karabakh, a part of Azerbaijan populated and controlled by ethnic Armenians for decades. And as before I continue, as we talked about this before, this is internationally considered Azerbaijani territory, granted to them by the former USSR, which is now Russia, and until Russia steps in as a force and says this is this, this is that. This conflict almost will never end. You know, as that's how it looks now currently until Russia steps in and, you know, grants this land to the Armenians and or, you know, takes a firm stance that this is Azeri territory. We're not going to see much development, like our steps towards peace, I guess.
Our prior coverage too, like we've seen that, you know, Russia has as the U.S. does too, has a vested interest in having them fight over the territory too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for the most part, it's less, you know, whose side gets what, and it's more like, why did we cut these things up in these, you know, arbitrary lines in the first place?
Exactly.
What are the forces that created this? And yeah, like when we called it the last story, you know, we covered the truce, this truce that was going to be put in effect. And, you know, our coverage of that was like, well, obviously this truce is not going to last long because it's built on shaky ground. We're not actually, you know, going after the root cause, and there you go, it's materialized.
Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to give a quick update on the situation, and I have a couple more lines to read from this, and then we can move on. Starting back where we left off, ethnic Armenians in the region declared independence as the Soviet Union was collapsing in 1991, kicking off a war that killed some 30,000 people from 1991 to 1994 and left Nagorno-Karabakh outside of Baku control. Armenians regard the enclave as part of their historic homeland. Azeris consider it illegally occupied land that must be returned to their control. A fragile ceasefire has existed since then, but heavy fighting flared up again on September 27th. More than 1,000 people have been reported dead in the fighting, mainly Armenian fighters, but also dozens of civilians, which is, you know, obviously, you know, the soldiers dying is sad because, you know, they're kind of indoctrinated into following orders, but, you know, seeing civilians die is, you know, it's you know, that's like one of the that's the fucked up part is, you know, it's you know, you have these opposing forces of like government being like, oh, this is my land, oh, this is my land. But nobody's nobody's looking at what's going on with the civilians.
They're just massacring them in general.
Yeah, and it's not, and the politicians are never gonna, you know, they're never gonna see this. Like, you know, nobody's gonna come for them. You know, they're not affected by these civilians dying, etc. I think we're good on that part. If we want to move on, Michael has an article to read.
Yes.
It's a bit of an oldie, but
we
rarely cover Canada, so.
Right. So it's titled RCMP criticized for inaction after mob violently attacks Micmac. I hope I'm saying that right. Lobster facilities. Nova Scotia RCMP are under fire for failing to stop an angry mob from attacking two rural storage facilities holding Micmac lobster, throwing rocks, setting a van ablaze, and restraining fishermen in one of the most violent confrontations yet in a dispute over the fishery. On the next paragraph, RCMP say a group of around 200 people blocked employees from leaving a lobster storage facility in Middle West Pubnico on Tuesday night after 5 hours after a similar-sized crowd surrounded workers at a facility in New Edinburgh, about 110 kilometers north. In both cases, police were on the scene as the mob pelted vehicles and the buildings with rocks. In Middle East Pubnico, two Micmac fishermen say they were followed and barricaded inside by the mob, threatened, and thousands of pounds of indigenous caught lobster destroyed after a group ransacked the building. One of the fishermen, Jason Marr, said the crowd slashed his tires, vandalized his truck, and threatened to burn the building down with him inside. Wow. You guys have any thoughts on that?
I mean, as it will go on to explain, I mean, this is a backlash over the Mi'kmaq getting the right to, you know, operate the lobster fisheries there. There's backlash because of that, overt racism, obviously. Yeah. And of course, there's other systemic problems too. Like there is, people in Canada being slowly pushed down into, a lower class, and are generally white people, and they're having this, incendiary reaction. And instead of blaming, capitalists, the ones that are pushing them into poverty, they're blaming it on these, native lobster fishermen. So
who hold no power in the society. Exactly. Yeah.
It's like the unfortunate. It's like when there's a police shooting, and there's understandable rioting and looting, but like if small businesses get hurt, then like the community suffers. Like you got to remember, loot Target. Even the CEO said it's okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're
Walmart in Philadelphia.
Yeah. Always go for the corporations.
Yeah, so it keeps on going a little bit down. I want to skip to the part where the statement about what the officers tried to do. It says here, Nova Scotia RCMP said in a statement that its officers tried to de-escalate the situation with the two Micmac fishermen who were surrounded. But unfortunately, quote, events escalated with further damages incurred. In New Edinburgh, officers attempted to mediate the situation and extinguished a vehicle fire, the RCMP said. So the officers tried to de-escalate the situation, but a lot of damage was done to the area, unfortunately. There's a lot more here, but I don't want to, because there's a lot of
quotes here, and I don't want to read all the next two paragraphs though, because I think they are important.
The next two paragraphs down from that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I don't have to pronounce that tribe name if you don't want to.
Yeah. Hold on. I totally lost the freaking.
You want me to read it?
Oh, yeah. Wait. I think I found it. Wait. Oh, I didn't find it.
Okay.
I found it. Okay. I got it. I'm gonna skip the tribe name. Fishermen are operating a fishery outside of a federally regulated season based on the Supreme Court's 1999 Marshall decision that ruled East Coast indigenous groups have the right to fish for a moderate livelihood, although a second ruling stated this was subject to federal regulation. The head of the union representing commercial non-indigenous fishermen condemned the attack on the two lobster facilities. He blamed the federal department for fisheries and Oceans Canada for allowing frustration over the indigenous fishery to grow, while excluding commercial fishermen from negotiations with the Micmac over an indigenous managed fishery.
Right. Yeah, and I guess I thought that part was important because it's back to the other point. It's like, they've managed this whole situation poorly by not only, they've put these other fishermen at odds with these indigenous fishermen, and they've done nothing to mediate it or soothe it, and they're just like, all right, we're also not going to protect you. It's like, it's easy to see how something like this happened. Thank God no one died, by the way.
No, absolutely not.
Still thousands of lobsters, murdered and not, destroyed, burned. That's, ecologically damaging and
with everything that happened too. Yeah.
Yeah, and it destroys their livelihood.
Just wasted.
Yeah, just wasted
completely.
100%. Do we want to move to the next one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you had you had this.
That was a good one. Okay, so we have this Intercept article here. Okay, I have it up. You hear from the headline: Border Patrol leaves migrants in remote town as deaths rise. With migrant deaths approaching levels not seen in years, humanitarian aid volunteers in southern Arizona say that the U.S. Border Patrol is using COVID-19 as a pretext to quietly dump large numbers of immigrants in one of the most remote and potentially dangerous communities in the Sonoran Desert. Volunteers who have visited the dusty community of Sasabe in the Mexican state of Sonora in recent weeks say that they have witnessed U.S. immigration agents continually offloading large groups of people throughout the day, overwhelming the town's limited immigration resources, and I'm sure resources in general, and placing individuals at significant risk of being targeted by organized criminal groups, which, lest we forget, are fucking created and sustained by the U.S. government. Here from the article, quote, "We believe that Border Patrol is getting away with these horrible deportation numbers because no one knows," unquote. Dora Rodriguez, a Tucson-based humanitarian aid volunteer, told The Intercept. Quote again, "It is really easy for them just to just dump people there, and that's it. Nobody says anything." Rodriguez and a growing group of humanitarian volunteers began turning their attention to Sasabe in mid-September, making bi-weekly visits to bring food and water to migrants after learning of the expulsion of arrivals to the resource-strapped community. With a population of approximately 2,500 and a single-town store, the port of entry at Sasabe has long been described as one of the quietest official crossings in the state. There is no migrant shelter in the town, and the influence and power of organized crime in the area is well known. In recent visits, Rodriguez has been joined by Sister Judy Borg, a nun with the Sisters of Notre Dame, and Gail Kokorek, a volunteer with the Tucson Samaritans, one of Arizona's long-standing humanitarian groups. The women told The Intercept that they have personally seen groups of migrants numbering in the dozens gathered outside of Sasabe's tiny immigration office. Through a visit to a local stash house and conversations with local contacts, the women were told that the Border Patrol is dropping upwards of 100 to 200 or 100 to 120 people in the community each day. Keep in mind, this is a place they said had one fucking like store in it, and they're dropping 100 people there daily. And of course, with our jumbled immigration system, we're just deporting people that might not have even ever have lived in Mexico too. Yep. Imagine just getting deported to some town. There's just hundreds of people and there's one store.
Just basically putting people there who have no life there in Mexico.
There was that really big story of I think he was from like Iraq or something. He got deported to like some like random like.
He got deported to Iraq, I think. Is that?
I forget what his nationality was, but I think he got deported to Iraq. Yeah.
Never been to the country before.
It was just like, oh, you go here now. But
somehow they identified him as.
Right. Well. They did. They probably did
the lack of identification.
The color test, yeah.
They just held up the piece of paper. It's like, Middle East.
Not enough, yeah.
And unfortunately, he died.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't survive there. He had nothing. He didn't know the language. So.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the problem in this story. You don't have to go on. It's so obvious people are gonna die here. Like,
you're getting no resources.
Yeah.
My bad. Yeah.
The issue was COVID-19. Like, why would you dump hundreds of people into a small town?
Yeah. You're like.
It makes no sense.
It does. Yeah, it doesn't have like a shelter for any sort of migration. There's one store in the whole city, and you're dumping like hundreds and hundreds of people every day. Like, you're grossly overpopulating this small town. What the fuck do you think's gonna happen with COVID?
Yeah,
and in reality, like, they don't care. Like, they understand.
But it just shows that COVID.
It shows how disgusting the system is.
It's a fake excuse.
I think it's like an afterthought. Yeah.
And then, not to mention, I mean, and it points out in the article, like, they're throwing people in these, vicious situations where, look, if I was thrown in there and there's hundreds of people in this small town, I'm joining a fucking gang. Are you shitting me? Like, what else is there to do?
Yeah.
Like, you gotta get out of there.
It's as unfortunate as it sounds, it's literally the most stable path you could take if you just got there and like you don't know what to do.
Yeah, when you have no economic opportunities anywhere, and you have this group of people like, oh, not only will we show you like family and companionship, you also make money if you do this stuff for us. Obviously, that's gonna sound alluring and like, oh, I have nothing to do here, or if the only thing I have to do is just like working at this one grocery store or something. It's like, obviously I'm gonna go to this I'm gonna go make this money and maybe try to make a better life here. Exactly. You make the money and try to get the fuck out. What is it? Yeah, it doesn't have to be like that at all.
A bad
No, not at
situation
all.
creating more bad situations.
And then you had something to pull up here which relates, correct?
Yeah. Before that, though, I'd give a shout out to Ryan Devereaux. It's a pretty long Intercept article, so we won't read the whole thing, but check that one out. Pretty good.
And as always, it'll be on our YouTube upload of this tomorrow at 10:30.
Yep.
You'll be able to see every link we use for the show, the music as well. But yeah.
So relating to that, we have this interview with author Roberto Lovato, relating to gangs, exploitation, and deportation in America. I thought he has a new book that came out recently, and an interview here with The Dig, and I thought it was really good. We can pull that one up.
And you're watching.
I'm gonna play it so you guys can hear it as well.
Awesome.
TV with your elderly father, and he
You got
blurts
it,
out,
or-
quote, "Those fucking gangs."
Oh, sorry.
I do not hear it.
Give us one.
My bad.
It's all good.
Gangs are ruining El Salvador, and of course he wasn't.
Can we rewind it a little
wrong.
To maybe 10,
The
15?
book opens in 2019.
There. That's fine right there. Get the intro song.
Roberto Lovato,
fuck.
welcome to The Dig.
Glad to be with you, Daniel.
Your book opens in 2019, and you're watching TV with your elderly father, and he blurts out, quote, "Those fucking gangs are ruining El Salvador." And of course he wasn't entirely wrong. The violence is indeed devastating and widespread, but his assessment, you write, was seriously incomplete, in part because his own history within El Salvador and El Salvador's history as a whole were obscured to him. How did the gangs, or maras, MS-13 and 18th Street, come to appear to both Americans and Salvadorans, and to Salvadoran Americans like your father, as this transcendent evil with no history, and thus that just came from evil people rather than evil systems that damage people?
Well, that has a lot to do with a confluence of interests that were coming together in the early 90s when the gang violence started to escalate after the LA riots. Really, prior to the riots, you didn't see or have MS-13 on the radars of the national media, of the Pentagon, or even of the President of the United States, who would eventually make a cottage industry of MS-13 like both Republicans and Democrats have made. Once the LA riots hit, you have people like Attorney General William Barr coming to LA announcing that they're launching a quote-unquote gang war and that they're redeploying 300 FBI agents in what was at that moment the biggest redeployment of FBI resources in U.S. history. In moving away from fighting foreign threats, quote-unquote, to fighting domestic threats, specifically gangs. And so, the image of MS-13 as the most violent gang is a construct that people like Lisa Ling, the reporter for, at that time, National Geographic, came out with a special on the most violent gang in the world. And, there's never a statistical basis because there's not. There's no statistical basis for anything as far as resembling a most violent gang in the world in terms of homicide statistics, in terms of other things. So Lisa Ling and other journalists start picking up on this. The LAPD in the Rampart division specifically, which eventually was exposed in the Rampart scandal, where they were caught killing, shooting, robbing, dealing drugs, and targeting gang members for violence and murder too. So this confluence of interest comes together to create the gang scare of MS-13 in the early 90s. And that's where we really start then having think tanks Democratic Party think tanks and thinkers, quote unquote, and Republican Party Democratic think tanks and thinkers really started to manufacture this. I mean, like Douglas Farrar used to be with the Washington Post, used to be a pretty good reporter. Must have got some virus or something because becoming this right-wing extremist. He got like mad cow disease in the brain or something because he suddenly became this whack, quote unquote, expert on MS-13 because of his war coverage, as if the two were translatable. And so, there's a small cottage industry that the Pentagon started outsourcing reports to its, strategists. I mean, you had people who were training the Salvadoran military that killed 85% of the 75 to 80,000 people killed during the war. The people that trained them and the death squad, the military and the death squads, those U.S. Pentagon trainers came back to the U.S. to train local police departments, including LAPD, NYPD, and others, in counterinsurgency. And so you have anti-gang work being informed by counterinsurgency from El Salvador and other parts of Latin America. And so there's this whole, you can't really talk about gangs unless you talk about the policing that helps create them, along with the media systems and even the Hollywood system, right, that promotes these images that together create this gang threat that is actually non-existent when you look at homicide statistics, for example, in the U.S. for 2019, like I did.
People in the U.S. see Maras as an invading force.
We can end it there for now, but I just thought that was important to the last thing because it's like not only these gangs like literal creations of U.S. empires, and we train them and we place them there, and we give them counterinsurgency, and we use those tactics back here with the police, and those police, their tactics thus create more gangs here, vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like, I thought this part was interesting too, where he's like, it's more than that too. It's this media creation too, creating them to be more than they are. Like, creating MS-13 and Donald Trump has used this a lot, and so a lot of conservative fucking Dems too. They're like, MS-13 is the worst possible thing. It's the scourge of El Salvador, not the right-wing military, coup that killed popular social movements and overthrew their president
and created the issue.
Created MS-13. Yeah.
I mean, it's the exact same thing when you're talking about like the creation of like groups like ISIS. Like we call ISIS these terrible, terrible groups, but when you look at who's responsible for the creation of these groups, the finger point right back at the United States.
Yes. Not just the physical creation, but same with ISIS too. It's
and the destabilization that follows.
Yeah, we just set the stage.
Like ISIS is the worst thing. Like everyone assumes ISIS is the biggest threat to humanity or something, even though statistically there's no bearing for that at all.
We create the absolute desperation that turns these people to extremists because at least they're offering them something other than bombing their house.
When you look at look at these groups, when you look at these extremist groups, they come to you and like, hey, we hate who's destroying this country too. We want to, but like they'll talk about these radical things, but at the end of the day, it comes from the same place of hating who's oppressing you. And they look like them. They're not some foreign force that doesn't speak their language. These are people that speak their language, that look like them, and are able to communicate and bring out the nationalism.
Plus obviously like these groups would exist whether we were there or not, but we're fueling them. We're giving them ammunition to use.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
Quite literally, like literally
ideologically, militarily.
The groups that became ISIS, we literally gave weapons to.
They use our leftovers.
Funded them.
Yep.
So we put the weapons there, and they end up in their hands.
Who would have known? But it's also like,
oops.
There was like a lot of those big stories a couple of years ago, like during like these ISIS raids and stuff. You'd like find shells and it'd be like made in the USA on them.
They know who to blame. It's right there in English.
Yep. But
check out Roberto Lovato though.
Yes,
and he has an interview here And Aaron Matei interviewed him too, and that's a good interview.
Also, check out the dig
Both
on
on his new book. Yeah, I think they're a Jacobin, like, you know, under the umbrella of Jacobin. So they're pretty cool podcasts. Check them out.
Yeah. Next,
let's move to our Israeli story.
Yeah, we have a story about some olive trees. And Jagan's gonna talk to
Okay, here from onecoal.com. Israelis have destroyed 1 million Palestinian olive trees. This month, they're at it again. This is, a history I had no idea about, so this is pretty enlightening. In the village of Jabba in Bethlehem district this month, Israeli squatter settlers chopped down and destroyed 300 olive trees. October is the olive harvest month in Palestine. This emblem of peace, however, is under attack by illegal extremist Israeli squatter settlers who carry out their attacks under the protection of the Israeli army. These attacks escalate during the harvest season due to incidents of olive theft and physical attacks on Palestinian farmers by the settlers. This year is no different. In addition to the incidents mentioned above, there were many others. 4 Palestinians who were harvesting olives were injured after they were attacked by Israeli settlers in the village of Burqa in Ramallah area. In another incident, an Israeli settler was filmed stealing Palestinian olives in Huarat near Nablus. 10,000 new olive trees in the West Bank every year, which is beautiful to see considering all the oppression in the West Bank.
Yeah.
So far this year, Israeli settlers are estimated to have destroyed 4,000 of them. Every October, the whole family gets together. They go to their land to handpick the olive the traditional way, where they also enjoy having their food in the fresh air. Speaking from personal experience, it is one of the most enjoyable things I ever did. Most of the harvested olive is used to produce olive oil, which is a source of income for many Palestinian families. The rest is pickled at home. Olive oil soap is the main traditional local industry linked to olive. The wood is used either for heating or decoration craft. In Palestinian culture, the olive tree is not only a source of food and income, it is also an important element of our cultural identity. Some trees date back to the Roman era and called Roman olive. One tree in Bethlehem, which could be the oldest in the world, is estimated to be 5,500 years old. And if it has been in Palestine as long as the Canaanites themselves. There's another story that we won't cover today, but that specific tree they've built, there's a guy that sleeps under it every week and tends to it, and his family's done it for generations apparently. They've built a fence around it now so that he can't do that.
Jesus.
Keep in mind, this fucking tree is, older than Jesus.
Yeah.
God damn it.
It's fucked up, and it's just another example of the oppression that the Palestinians face every day.
Disgusting oppression.
It's like a very gross form. It's fucking it's olive trees.
Yeah, there's no way to justify this.
Yeah, I mean, justifying anything that the state of Israel does.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't even see a makeup argument for this.
It's just another form of sanctions.
IDF officials say that Palestinian olive trees shot missiles at.
Yeah, they threw rocks at us.
Yeah,
so
the trees threw rocks at IDF, so we destroyed these trees.
Finishing off here, the olive tree is also used in poetry, folk, and patriotic songs, as well as a symbol for the Palestinian steadfastness, resilience, and their attachment to their land. Probably why the Israelis chop down their trees. As if they are rooted in it like an olive tree. Olive branch is a symbol for peace as well, worldwide, obviously. Instead of preventing the settlers' violence, the Israeli army were filmed attacking journalists who were covering the attack on Palestinian peasants. Not only that, but the Israeli authorities are also no different to the settlers in their attacks on Palestinian farming land, including uprooting trees, restricting access to the land, preventing importing fertilizers to improve the harvest, and confiscating Palestinian land to build illegal Israeli settlements. According to the Palestinian Return Center, there are about 750,000 illegal Israeli settlers living in Jewish-only settlements across the occupied Jerusalem and the West Bank on land stolen from the Palestinians by Israel against the international law and the Fourth Geneva Convention. To put things in context, according to the UN, about 57% of cultivated Palestinian land is used for olive trees. There are about 8.9 million trees in the occupied Palestinian territories. The olive make up 15% of the agricultural income, which accounts for 5.5% of the Palestinian GDP. It is also estimated that more than 800,000 olive trees have been destroyed either by the State of Israel or by Israeli settlers. This frequently quoted figure, however, is more likely to be higher by now, as the UN relied on the figures published by the Palestinian Ministry of National Economy and Applied Research Institute in 2011. The immediate aim of such attacks is to terrorize the Palestinians from attending their land, which deprives them of a source of income. But for the long run, as the Palestinians become increasingly afraid of attending the land and fear for their safety, Israel will be able to confiscate the land under the pretext that it is abandoned land. Uprooting the trees is also a tool for uprooting the people by destroying their source of income, which could force them to leave their homeland, which is the main aim of Zionism. Besides depriving the Palestinians of a source of income, destroying olive trees has an environmental impact as well as a psychological impact. The Palestinian farmer Adnan Salim said, quote, "The olive tree is fundamental to a Palestinian's life. He was raised to maintain it. When a Zionist settler from another country comes and cuts it off, it destroys us psychologically." While publishing is important, the UN needs to do more to protect the Palestinians from repeated Israeli attacks. And we could actually end it there because we know the solution, and the solution is to internationalize the UN more, not just have it as, a nation above nations, like where the US, for example, has overwhelming power and say in the UN, and is, if we disagree with something the UN says, we just back out of one of their councils,
and nothing will happen, and there's no backlash towards us.
Yeah. So solidarity with the Palestinians, and
as always, and fuck the state of Israel.
Yeah, and I'll try to see if I can find some, more about this as October moves on, because I'm sure maybe towards the end of October we might get some more info. So.
Moving on, we have a very interesting video by the Gravel Institute. A quick preface before we start: everybody should go check out and support the Gravel Institute. They're super awesome. It came after Mike Gravel was running for president, and he dropped out. They started the Gravel Institute, and it's basically what they're using it as now as a platform to be the left's version of PragerU, or like the opposing force to PragerU, and normalizing left idea as well as combating the misinformation that PragerU spreads in 99.99% of their videos, probably 100%. But yeah, everybody really go check out. They only have a couple videos up right now. They just started creating their videos. A lot of big names. They're supposed to have an episode with Slavoj Žižek, which that's gonna be a good one. Yeah, you're muted, by the way, Jagan. Yeah, you're muted, buddy.
I said, that's gonna be bomb.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
Your problem. But yeah. So let's get into this video. It's about the Civil War, and it's very interesting. It's only like 5 minutes, but yeah, we should check them out. You want to turn off the cameras for this? I think there's like infographics on this.
What do you know about the American Civil War? Just saying these words, the Civil War, probably brings some familiar images to mind. Northern soldiers in Union blue marching against Southern troops in Confederate gray. Epic battles at Shiloh and Gettysburg. Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation and the end of slavery. The victory of the Union over the Confederacy. But there's something else you should know about that era. Something that ties these events together and that you probably didn't learn in school. The Civil War was also America's greatest left-wing revolution. Here's how. In the early 19th century, African slavery was the foundation of social and economic life in the American South. Millions of black workers were owned as property by wealthy planters who denied them education, controlled their family lives, and reaped the fruits of their labor. This system was wildly profitable, and the wealth it produced allowed a tiny elite to dominate Southern and national politics. And before the Civil War, it was expanding all across the Western Hemisphere. In 1860, between the United States, Brazil, and Cuba, there were more enslaved people than ever before. For years, a small group of American abolitionists had denounced slavery as an abomination. These radical activists were scorned by much of society and ignored by both the two mainstream political parties. But in the 1850s, as slaveholders tried to extend slavery across the West, their opponents made a breakthrough. The old two-party system melted down, and the new Republican Party won massive Northern support by opposing slavery's expansion while putting bondage itself on a road to ultimate extinction. The abolitionists broke through, in part, because they named the slave power as the oppressive ruling class that it was. They pointed out that slaveholders were just 1% of the population, but somehow controlled every branch of government. They argued that black bondage was not just morally wrong, but a threat to free labor everywhere. The struggle between anti-slavery and slavery, said Abraham Lincoln, was part of the eternal struggle between the common right of humanity and the divine right of kings. The same spirit that says, you toil and work and earn bread and I'll eat it. It was the common worker, black or white, against the rich. These populist assaults on the ruling class helped Lincoln's party win the election of 1860. Contemporaries called it a political revolution. Its threat to slaveholders was so serious that they formed their own separate republic, the Confederate States of America. In the Civil War that followed, the stakes were clear. The Union fought against human bondage, for a democratic majority, and for the dignity of all labor. The Confederacy fought to preserve bondage and elite rule. Confederates fought, as Lincoln told Congress in 1862, to put capital, that's wealth measured in human beings, above labor in the structure of government. Enslaved laborers understood these stakes. Hundreds of thousands fled to Union lines even before emancipation was proclaimed. Radical abolitionists knew it too. Frederick Douglass barnstormed the country, rousing black men to enlist in the Union Army. By war's end, around 200,000 black soldiers and sailors had taken up arms to crush the rebellion. The cause of the Union was the cause of the international left. While conservative aristocrats and capitalists in Europe sympathized with the Confederacy, radicals and labor organizations supported the Union. In 1864, a German journalist named Karl Marx declared that the American anti-slavery war would launch a new era of ascendancy for the working class. Emancipation, as Marx understood, was not a middle-class reform project. It was a true social revolution. Only in the United States and in Haiti was emancipation sudden, uncompensated, and enforced by former slaves themselves. That revolution remains incomplete. After the war, former slaves and radical Republicans were defeated by what the scholar W.E.B. Du Bois calls a counter-revolution of property, led by former slaveholders and conservative businessmen. Under the terror of Jim Crow segregation, many of the Civil War's victories for labor and for democracy were rolled back, but not all. The destruction of American chattel slavery was a historic and enduring victory. It meant that black Southerners were able to create the schools and the churches that seeded their later fight against Jim Crow. It radically expanded American democracy and made the modern labor and civil rights movements possible. The Civil War was America's greatest left-wing revolution. Even now, its work remains unfinished. But every left-wing struggle, for the rule of democratic majorities, for the rights of labor over property, and for meaningful freedom and equality, can claim its legacy. I'm Matt Karp, Associate Professor of History at Princeton University for the Gravel Institute.
There we go.
Yeah, so fucking awesome video.
Very informative.
And it's in a super like easy way to understand. The visuals are awesome. We should all really support the Gravel Institute, and you should check out the video a couple more times. You'll pick up some more stuff, and as well check out their other videos. They're super awesome.
Like one of my favorite parts of that one, like doesn't get talked about a lot, is like when he's like, oh yeah, like a lot of these radicals took up and tried to co-opt, the Union so that they could overcome, the rebelling South. And he points out it's like the South was the interests of the South and its movements was capitalists in the South, and he pointed out too, Europeans, man.
Yeah.
The fuck Europe, a lot of Europe wanted the South to win.
Yeah.
And they, as soon as the war was over, they're like, oh, we didn't think that. Like, because
I mean, how many monarchs were still around?
Yeah, or even the countries that don't, like, England, like they're industrializing at the time, and they need, cotton. So they're like, hey, cotton for cheap, slave labor, we're in. We need them to win. And yeah, I thought that video was great. Yeah, good business. To relate to that, Jacobin did a piece. It's a reposting, if you will, from Eugene Debs, who eulogized great John Brown, one of these radicals in the Civil War, pre the Civil War. I'd like to read from that for a brief moment. It reads here: John Brown, history's greatest hero. Eugene Debs. Eugene V. Debs died on this day in 1926. Debs idolized John Brown, who he eulogized in a 1907 article as, quote, the most self-sacrificing soul in American history. Quote. We reprint the brief but rapturous article here in full. So the rest of this is from Debs, rather. The most picturesque character, the bravest man, and most self-sacrificing soul in American history was hanged at Charleston, December 2nd, 1859. On that day, Thoreau said, some 1800 years ago, Christ was crucified. This morning, perchance, Captain Brown was hung. These are the two ends of a chain which is not without its links. He is not Old Brown any longer. Yeah, we have Old Brown now. Ian Brown.
Yes, sir.
He is an angel of light. I foresee the time when the painter will paint that scene. No longer going to Rome for a subject. The poet will sing it. The historian record it. With the landing of the Pilgrims and the Declaration of Independence, it will be the ornament of some future national gallery. At least the present form of slavery shall be no more here. It shall then be a liberty to weep for Captain Brown. We've yet to see that day, but I hope so. A few people dared on that fateful day to breathe a sympathetic word for the grizzled old agitator. For years he had carried on his warfare against chattel slavery. He had only a handful of fanatical followers to support him. To his mind, his duty was clear, and that was enough. He would fight it out to the end, and if need be, alone. John Brown set an example of moral courage and of single-hearted devotion to an ideal for all men of all ages. With every drop of his honest blood, he hated slavery. In his early manhood, he resolved to lay his life on freedom's altar in wiping out that insufferable affliction. He never faltered. So godlike was his unconquerable soul that he dared to face the world alone. How perfectly sublime. He did not reckon the overwhelming numbers against him, or the paltry few that were on his side. This grosser aspect of the issue found no lodgment in his mind or heart. He was right, and Jehovah was with him. His was not to reckon consequences, but to strike the immortal blow and step from the gallows to the throne of God. Not for earthly glory did John Brown wage his holy warfare, nor for any recognition or reward the people had it in their power to bestow. His great heart was set upon a higher goal, animated by a loftier ambition. His grand soul was illuminated by a sublimer ideal. A race of human beings, lowly and despised, were in chains, and this festering crime was eating out the heart of civilization. In the presence of this awful plague, logic was silent, reason dumb, pity dead. The wrath of retributive justice, long asleep, awakened at last and hurled its lurid bolt. Old John Brown struck the blow and the storm broke. That hour, chattel slavery was dead. In the first frightful convulsion, the slave power seized the grand old liberator by the throat, put him in irons, and threw him into a dungeon to await execution. Alas, it was too late. His work was done. All Virginia could do was to furnish the crown for his martyrdom. Victor Hugo exclaimed in a burst of reverential passion, John Brown is grander than George Washington. Damn right. History may be searched in vain for an example of noble heroism and sublime self-sacrifice equal to that of old John Brown. From the beginning of his career to its close, he had but one idea and one ideal, and that was to destroy chattel slavery. And in that cause he sealed his devotion with his noble blood. Realizing that his work was done, he passed serenely, almost with joy, from the scenes of men. His calmness upon the gallows was awe-inspiring, his exaltation supreme. Old John Brown is not dead. His soul still marches on, and each passing year weaves new garlands for his brow and adds fresh luster to his deathless glory. Who shall be the John Brown of wage slavery? Keep in mind, this is Eugene Debs saying this like 100 fucking years ago. So we've had many John Browns since then for wage slavery, but have laid down their life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One.
Read more about Debs, of course, John Brown, and the Harper's Ferry incident. Before we move on from this, I think maybe something that Chris Hedges says a lot, something that always pops in my mind, and it's like totally, John Brown's ideal here is we don't fight fascists or fascism because we're gonna win. I think this quote too is the synthesis between what we were saying with Cola Boy too. It's like realizing that revolution might not be in our lifetime or might be. It doesn't matter, because what matters is not if we're gonna win. We fight them because they are.
Yeah.
Because they're fascist. It's fascist.
We fight because it's our job. It's what we have to do.
It's fascism. It don't matter who's doing it. The problem is being done, and it needs to be stopped.
We can't allow this issue to fester.
Doesn't matter what color you are, what gender you are, anything, any ideology, you can be a fascist, pretty much.
Yeah. And John Brown really exemplifies not only that ideal, but like really the best of the Christian tradition in this country, like fighting for actual fucking human rights. And yeah, John Brown's amazing. Read more about him, please. You guys want to move on from that one?
Yeah.
This one's pretty short, so we'll just touch on it, and then we have another climate piece, and then I think we're gonna dip out of here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
2.5 hours.
Let me pull this one up. It says it's from Newsround. It's actually BBC subsidiary. Fears of an oil spill off the coast of Trinidad and Tobago. There are worries that a tanker off the Caribbean coast of South America containing over 55 million tons of crude oil could overturn. This is the only part I saw reported, and then I opened the article and it expounds on this. The Venezuelan-owned tanker, which was abandoned 20 months ago, is causing particular concern to Venezuela's neighboring country, Trinidad and Tobago. The tanker has been pictured looking unbalanced, and the Trinidad government believes it could spill up to 1.3 million barrels of oil into the ocean, causing a major ecological disaster. Here's the key part. The tanker was abandoned by a Venezuelan oil company because of a financial dispute with American President Donald Trump. The specific financial dispute is when he completely froze their oil assets and tried to coup Maduro by putting in Guaido, and literally, like, as we've seen too, like how they've been transferring oil between Iran and Venezuela as well. They've been doing embargoes and blockades, so it's like we're going to see more of these ships run aground, or they can't go to the country because the assets are frozen. So let's drive around for a little bit. Oh shit, we hit a reef. Oh no, and obviously, Venezuela needs to move past oil, as we all do, but they made a move to nationalize their oil and actually see those benefits benefit the people of Venezuela. Then our government steps in, removes that, and goes, okay, fuck you guys, we're going to try to start a coup, and we're going to, remove all your money.
Yep.
So
we're going to sanction the shit.
We've caused this.
Yeah.
It's a one-way ticket to get the U.S. involved in your political system is nationalize your oil.
Yeah.
Yeah, Iran, Venezuela. Yeah.
It's just strike number one, and it's the only strike you need.
We'll keep... Another point to this, too, it's like if anyone's going to go out there and fix it, who has the resources to do it? U.S., of course. Yep. Is Trinidad and fucking Tobago going to fix this? No. They don't have the resources to do that. they're island countries. So we'll keep updated on this too. Hopefully there's a solution to this, because if that spills, that's millions of barrels of oil into the Caribbean. So not good. We have our last piece, and this is more local ecological disaster. Do you actually want to read this one, Carlos, to get us out of here?
Sure. All right.
Let's do it.
So, I think some of you might have seen this. So here from the Los Angeles Times. LA's coasts were once a DDT dumping ground. No one could see it until now. Not far from Santa Clarita Island, Santa Catalina Island, in an ocean shared by divers and fishermen, kelp forests and whales, David Valentine decoded unusual signals underwater that gave him chills. The UC Santa Barbara scientist was supposed to be studying methane seeps that day, but with a deep-sea robot on loan and a few hours to spare, now was the chance to confirm an environmental abuse that others in the past could not. He was chasing a hunch, and sure enough, initial sonar scanners pinged back a pattern of dots that popped up on the map like a trail of breadcrumbs. The robot made its way 3,000 feet down to the bottom, beaming bright lights and a camera as it slowly skimmed the seafloor. At this depth and darkness, the uncharted topography felt as eerie as diving through the vast desert at night. Driving. And that's when the barrels came into view. Barrels filled with toxic chemicals banned decades ago. Leaking. And littered across the ocean floor. Holy crap, this is real, Valentine said. This stuff really is down here. Yeah, there. It has been sitting here this whole time, right off our shore. Tales of this buried secret bubbling under the sea had haunted Valentine for years. A largely unknown chapter in the most infamous case of environmental destruction off the coast of Los Angeles, one lasting decades, costing tens of millions of dollars, frustrating generations of scientists. The fouling of the ocean was so reckless, some said, it seemed unimaginable. As many as 500,000 of these barrels could still be underwater right now. Think about that. I just wanted to sit on a bit of silence for that.
Jake, and you muted?
Yeah, you muted, boy.
Saying, yeah, right by us too. Right by us.
Yeah.
Where we swim.
As many as 500,000 of these barrels could still be underwater right now, according to interviews and a Times review of historical records. Manifests and undigitized research. From 1947 to 1982, the nation's largest manufacturer of DDT, a pesticide so powerful that it poisoned birds and fish, was based in Los Angeles. An epic Superfund battle later exposed the company's disposal of toxic waste through sewage pipes that poured into the ocean, but all the DDT that was barged out to sea drew comparatively little attention. Shipping logs show that every month in the years after World War II, thousands of barrels of acid sludge laced with this synthetic chemical were boated out to a site near Catalina and dumped into the ocean, so vast that, according to common wisdom at the time, it would dilute even the most dangerous poisons. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm sure they believe that, even though science then showed that's not true.
Regulators reported in the 1980s that the men in charge of getting rid of the DDT waste sometimes took shortcuts and just dumped it closer to shore. So there you go.
Yeah.
And when the barrels were too buoyant to sink on their own, one report said, the crew simply punctured them. The ocean buried the evidence for generations, but modern technology can take scientists to new depths. Deeps.
Deeps.
In 2011 and 2013, Valentin and his research team were able to identify about 60 barrels and collect a few samples during brief forays and at the end of other research missions. One sediment sample showed DDT concentrations 40 times greater than the highest contamination recorded at the Superfund site. That's almost... Boy, that's a... What would you call it? A euphemism, if I ever heard one? Super fund? It almost sounds like super fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Just environmental degradation. A federally designated area of hazardous waste that officials had contained to shallower waters near the Palos Verdes.
You keep over that like overview of the basins. It shows the dump site, the Superfund site. You can see how close that DDT dump site is to Catalina too. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Not that there's an excuse to pour it anywhere, but it's like right off the fucking island, dude. I think really there is a decent, because it's a pretty long piece. It goes on.
Yeah,
it has more graphics.
Yeah, we're only like a quarter of the way through that.
I was gonna say like to the DDT barrel dump site, and you said it's so close. Do you think there was a reason necessarily why they chose that spot, or do you think it's just like as of like resources, like let's just say gas and things like to get out there to dump it? You just dump it as close as possible so you don't waste resources on that.
Well, that'd be the logical conclusion.
Right.
And I guess they just
Which is absurd. Which is absurd. I mean, you're not like again, like you said, you're not supposed to be dumping into the ocean either, anyway. But just goes to show that they don't.
Right off us where we swim
and you see like how they justify it too, like, oh, if we just put it in this spot way too far out and it's so deep, it'll just dilute and it won't really damage anything.
Right. And they just pour it like right by the shore.
So even in the most ideal conditions, it's already unacceptable.
Yeah.
Because it's just simply contaminating the ocean and justifying it. But yeah, we'll definitely have all this stuff linked so everyone can go and check it out. But
yeah, the full thing will be on YouTube.
I'd say
yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like interactive and stuff. So
yeah, I think this is a good point to kind of wrap things up. We're hitting a pretty good time, 2.5 hours.
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, this is a long podcast. Hopefully, it makes up for the time that we had off last Wednesday.
Yeah,
making this one super long. And also the graphics that we put up onto the screen, which are new.
Special interview.
Yeah,
weren't here in the beginning.
Yeah, like we seriously want to like thank you to everybody who was here. If you're watching this on YouTube or is watching now, we still got 13 people here rocking with us at fucking 1 a.m. That's awesome. Thank you guys like so much. Like all the support is super cool, and special thank you to
Cole Boy.
Yeah, for coming on to the show and talking to us. It was super awesome.
It was just like out of nowhere too, like,
and it's like
just super natural and stuff. Like it was a great
he
talking
had
with him.
Quick response to us.
Yeah, he had some super cool stuff to say too, and
very well informed.
You know, yeah, what he was talking about is super true and serious. We need to get out there and organize. Not only us, like everybody. Like we need to be a tight knit.
Wherever you are,
pushing for
talk
change.
to us.
Yes, please. If you are
use
interested,
us. If you want to organize, use us.
If you're interested in what we have to say, talk to us. Yeah, use us.
We got a stream. We got a YouTube channel. We can make dedicated videos.
Yeah,
as well. You know, like we have we like to have people on the podcast and get their voice in, but yeah, if there's something like big that you want us to like collaborate with, let us know. We can do like dedicated stuff as well.
Yeah, we've had people like Abram reach out to us trying to talk to people running for like district board and stuff. Like, yeah, let us be your microphone kind of.
Right. And we do reach out to people, and like don't be afraid to reach out to us as we reach out to everyone else.
We're nice. We're nice enough people.
Yeah.
I do get it though to some degree though. Like we're definitely an kind of anti-mainstream, what you'd call it, at least anti-establishment certainly.
Yeah.
Right.
Challenging the status quo. So.
But yeah. Again, thank you guys for all rocking with us. Appreciate everybody for following. We got like 5 followers this stream, which is awesome. We're super close to our goal.
Oh yeah. It's probably our most followers.
Yeah. I want to. Before we let you guys go, make sure you hit up our YouTube, our Instagram, our Twitter. Everything's just Spoop Podcast, and YouTube is just Spoop. But yeah.
Oh yeah, can we announce it here that we're gonna be doing a little election day coverage?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna be having
let everyone know while we got him here.
That is true.
And
I'll be really fucked up.
Oh yeah, I think we'll all be.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting to see,
right.
actually.
Yeah, thank you guys for all rocking with us. Make sure you check out Cola Boy at Cola Boy with 2 Y's. Make sure you check us out, Spoop Podcast. All the links and music that we use for tonight's stream will be on the YouTube episode tomorrow in the bio. Thank you guys again, and workers of the world unite, as I always say, and let's be the change. So let's get the cameras cut and the mics muted. Thank you guys for rocking with us.
Everyone have a good night.
Yeah, see you next Wednesday, same time.
Force from a faraway exotic. Trump didn't invent this idea.
Sorry. I forgot we saw the video playing from earlier. It messes up Spotify and all that, so.
Almost time for
Fuck you. No, I'm kidding.
Fuck yeah! There we go.
Around us like the world's never known. We'll watch your NASA nation die. talking.